Sleep. Sciences. I'm already telling you guys, it's probably one of the few albums that'll make it up there in probably my top 5, if not, or top 10, if not top 5 for the year, given the way the trajectory of this year has been lately for me and albums in general. And I don't, but yeah, though given last year what I had for my number 1, it was going to be a hard thing to find a good something out there to be a contender, especially within both the stoner and sludge field. Motion Conformity, they kind of tried, I guess, at the beginning of the year, but they just didn't hit in that way that I liked, that made me like Deliverance or Blind or any of their 90s albums. Well, more so Deliverance and Blind. I've yet to warm up to Wise Blood on that one, but anyway. And Arms of God's okay. The album in between there, we don't want to talk about that one. And then the albums that happened in between, those are semi worth talking about. I mean, probably in my opinion, maybe a little bit more than that album that happened in between In the Arms of God and that and blah blah blah. But anyway, Sleep's been the foundation of stoner rock and stoner metal in general, alongside the likes of Kyuss. This has been anticipated album and probably one of the, for sure, better comeback albums this year. Most definitely. And of course, Matt Pike having gone on and doing fairly well with High on Fire. Don't entirely know for sure why with Electric Messiah album that recently came out a couple weeks ago. I'm eventually going to check that out and talk about it. Don't know if I'll enjoy it or not. I know it's a little more on the sludgier side, and there's been basically the sludge metal equivalent to Motorhead, from what I've heard. And this band is definitely takes from all their projects, from the High on Fires to the Neurosis, I think, to Ohm's bassist Ohm's stuff he's been doing, and most of his vocals are on here, which are honestly I find a lot more interesting than Matt Pike's, at least as far as this project's concerned, unless you're talking maybe in Dope Smoker, which was, or Jerusalem, as it was unofficially released to start. That was definitely a pretty solid effort, even though for some reason I prefer Holy Mountain. I mean, but either record, you can't, when it comes to Sleep, you can't go wrong with. And this is definitely going to be among them for sure. And definitely, like, one of the higher ups. So definitely, in terms of metal albums, it's pretty well been between this record for comeback and Judas Priest for comeback. I'll tell you that. For sure. I'm not going to put it in the same comeback essence as, say, Thrice's To Be Ever's to Be Nowhere, but it's definitely, in terms of stoner rock, stoner metal, and if you haven't had a chance to hear Sleep, this is definitely worth going and listening to. Sciences, I mean, does have a little bit of a rough start, and I mean, there is some spacier, some pseudo-spacey rock elements, hence Sciences and all that, but it's definitely primarily stoner rock for sure. It's the moment the Bond hits through Marijuana Nuts theme and the riff comes in, as you've somewhat heard through this here. Sonic Titan keeps it up. Giza Butler's fine, and that one definitely, if you're gonna name your song after the bass player from Black Sabbath. And if you may as well try to attempt to give us a nice little bass line or solo or something in that sort of nice little sludgy or fuzz distorted, big muff pie-ish sort of vein, or fuzz facey meets big muff pie-ish sort of vein of some sort. Definitely do something like that. And Arctican's Thought is probably the longest song on this album, second only to Sonic Titan, which those two are definitely Sciences works as the intro that it is, and it's fine. It's nice little background stuff, and then it pays off far more by the time Wanna Not's theme hits. And this album, honestly, sonically speaking, the crispest produced song here to me is The Botanist. The Botanist. In terms of just its sound, its pure sound of this record, just even if some songs, when it comes to like most doom metal-esque stuff, which the stoner metal and even the sludge metal stuff, which I will say, if there's anything from Sleep that you should just literally sleep on and not even bother listening to, it's Volume 1. Though it's almost like if you have to, it's more as like a basis for High on Fire, I guess. Even though I still need to listen to some High on Fire, to be honest. I've known about them for years. I've seen like the debut music video for one of the songs off their first album that I actually enjoyed. I'll be fairly honest with you. So, I'm definitely not saying High on Fire isn't good. So, but yes, this one is definitely good. And to think, and the weirdest thing is finding out and what makes this almost add some brownie points now, looking at it, they did this album on Third Man Records. Like Jack White's label. What the fuck? Like, I just now found this out. That's the funny thing. That almost just adds brownie points to this damn thing. And even cool points for Jack White, given that he may have lost some cool points in moments, especially at the album he released earlier this year. I think he knew that at least Sleep would give him something to, give him some cool points after what he was going to do creatively with his own shit. But anyway, a lot of nice little fuzzy bass stuff that works, bass lines and stuff that works as well. Mostly the guitar riffing is great as well. You definitely do get a very spacey feel. It definitely has, and like most stoner bands can tend to do, you definitely get a sort of it definitely works as a very acid trippy kind of thing towards the way the riffage is done. And I'm trying to remember which, I think it's Antarctic Saws that does have this weird, like, ridiculous, I think that might be the sort of weaker, sadly, but to a certain extent. And it seems like they're trying to go for a little bit of something that they had already done with Dope Smoker. This does, and in fact, it kind of leaves off from that, but yet not really. It kind of leaves off more from whatever they've done previous record-wise, prior to whatever the recent High on Fire of Electric Messiah. Yeah, from what because I haven't heard that one to really go off of it anyway. But yeah, this record is solid. It is fun. Definitely worth your time. Hell, it's even more worth a laugh. Just opening this thing, and it just makes you hungry. It's like it's asking you to be high and hungry at the same time, or hangry maybe. Who knows? Depending on how your whatever strain you've got or something. I'm not sure how that goes, to be honest. Although there is a bond in there, so that kind of makes sense. Oh boy. And some of the references here. Oh, I just noticed the butler in the butter. Ain't that something? Ain't that something? I guess he's high enough as it is since he spilled his orange juice. Look, what a waste. What a waste. But anyway, just overall, this album is just all sorts of kinds of fun here, and definitely see Mac Pike here, and just let's see what we got in this thing. Both lyrics, of course, Orange Amps definitely makes sense that they would use that for something along the lines of sludginess. Definitely. Chicago, interesting. California. Yeah. Oh, he uses 12 strings. acoustic strains on certain tracks. I'm not sure which one that was, to be honest, from what I remember at least. But oh, even Soldano amps. That's interesting. I believe it's Matt Pike, Jason Roeder, Al Cisneros. I'm sorry if I butcher your name, dude. The bassist Al mostly does a lot of the vocals on it, as opposed to Matt Pike. Yeah, it's primarily Al. I don't know if Matt Pike has been mentioned in doing other vocals on other tracks, but yeah, Jason's stuff is pretty good. The drumming's good. It all works really well, and it is a fun record. And definitely, if you like most stoner and sludge bands to a certain degree, if you like your Black Sabbath, or even any Doom, maybe a St. Vitus, maybe, you're probably gonna like this. Yeah. Yeah, I'm rocks. Silence is rocks. I almost want to say Masterclass, but I feel like that'd be pushing it, given that, you know, this album is good, and for what Sleep does, but it is not nearly as good as, say, what I got out of Elders last year. So, because that pretty well set a pretty good bar, I guess. Because that wasn't just stoner rock and metal, there was some post-rock metal thing happening in terms of ambience as well. So it brought more of a spacier feel, I guess, than this record ever did. But there is some aspect of spaciness in terms of its building of sense of atmosphere to it that make it work well enough to come close to that. So it does what it needs to do and satisfies, and maybe a little bit of something else. Maybe you didn't, I guess, expect. So that's enough to say that it rocks, at least. So I don't know what else. I don't know what else to say other than, you know, good comeback. What did you guys? So Sleep, Sciences. What did you guys think? Leave a comment below. Let me know. Rock that like button on this video. Thrust if you must. Also like and follow me on Facebook. I have links in the description. As always, guys, keep it random, keep it real, keep it rocking. And I'll see y'all in the next video, whatever that may be. Probably Schmoedown, I'm not sure at this point. Oh well. Take care, y'all.